What do you think? Should we get it started? All right, so it's 2:30. I realize in the current culture, nothing starts on time, but we're going to start on time because I want to get out at 3:30. Woo! And Jason, where are you? The theater guy. Are you here, Jason? I'm worried about this mic related to my mic. I didn't think about how Barbara would need a different mic. We're good? So I just step away. All right. It should be working. They know.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Barbara Lindemann, Emerita Professor of History at Santa Barbara City College. Thank you. And the seventh faculty lecturer, so it's such a pleasure to welcome our dear friend and colleague, Dr. Kimberly Monda, as the 44th faculty lecturer. I hope you've read the program carefully because it is way too long, way too many accomplishments to cover in a very brief introduction. I want to leave lots of time for Kim to speak. So just let me summarize very quickly. Kim grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, went through public schools, read voraciously throughout her whole youth and high school. She moved east to earn a BA degree from Harvard College, and then after another year there on the East Coast, decided to move west to the West Coast, where she earned a PhD from UCLA. As you can see from the bio that you have on your program here, she had a lot of teaching experience at UCLA and won a distinguished distinguished teaching award at UCLA. And in the process of studying at this major university that stresses especially research, she realized that her real love and her real goal was to teach. And so when she accepted a job at Santa Barbara City College, one of the few ones that were open in those years, she knew that she had found her life's calling, and wow, has she ever fulfilled it. Our friendship was forged after she came. We actually knew the person whom they rented a house from when they first arrived, but it took me a year or two to meet Kim in the IDC building where we had offices and met in the mailroom. But our friendship was actually forged in the honors program that we both taught in when Kim had one of her very usual creative ideas that why don't we pair our two courses. She was teaching English 1 and we had the same group of students, and I was teaching ethnic studies course and the history of immigration. And she said, well, let's pair it and let's coordinate. I'm teaching a lot of techniques, you're doing interesting reading. And so we worked together on that and learned a lot from each other. But it's also so symptomatic of Kim's interest always in finding new ways of teaching and always finding ways of reaching students. In the past 7 years, our families have gotten close over the years, but in the last 7 years, Kim has joined me and a friend as we hike regularly up Tunnel Trail. And Kim bounds up the trail in her energetic way. And then on the descent, we have really fascinating discussions. We talk about everything, our philosophy of life, current politics, what's going on in our families, the books we're reading, the movies we're seeing, and it's always provocative. It gives me a taste of what her students are privileged to experience every semester, her remarkable energy, her enthusiasm, her creative thinking, her candor, her curiosity, and her very keen intellect. I will just add that Kim is a model of how truly to listen with genuine interest to everyone she spends a little bit of time with. The nominations for her are very much in line with all that I've just said. Here is from some representative samples of what students wrote. I believe Professor Monda deserves this nomination because she is one of the most passionate, kindest, and most engaged professor I have ever had. Not only does she bring nuances to her curriculum, she's always searching for new meanings or discoveries within the world of Shakespeare. She teaches her classes as if it is her first time reading the play with us, bringing her own knowledge and urging us to think deeper about the texts. Not only in class, outside of class, she is the most understanding professor I've ever had. She gives us various and ample opportunities to make up any late work and is constantly working with her students to create personalized academic agendas. Another comment in brief, because these are just snippets. Monda's Shakespeare class transformed the way I look at literature. Her lectures are very engaging, and she takes a personal interest in every student. We certainly see a theme here. Another comment, extremely understanding when it comes to student obstacles. A lot of passion for what she teaches makes me want to become a teacher. Now, isn't that the highest compliment you could get? The faculty lecture is not just for outstanding teaching, it's also for contributions to the community over and above what is expected normally of a tenured professor. And here her colleagues speak to, and also if you notice here, I mean, it's incredible the amount of contributions Kim has made, and her colleagues recognize that in nominating her for this lecture, for this honor. As a member of the English department, she has made invaluable contributions during the 25 years that I have been at the college. She has consistently volunteered her time and gone above and beyond to serve the department, mentoring faculty, piloting new classes, working with the high schools. She has served in the several leadership roles, department chair, director of composition, and English 120 director, to name a few. Another comment, and again, it's shortened. Kim is the total package. I love that. She has served the English department as director of composition, greatly overhauling our dual enrollment program, served as chair and been academic senate president twice, not to mention the other committees she has served on and chaired. Her institutional knowledge is astonishing. How are you ever going to get along without her here next year? You would be hard-pressed to find anyone else who would serve in the way that Kim does. But at the heart of everything she does is the student. How does this serve students, she always asks. How does this serve equity? Kim, welcome. Please join me in welcoming our talented colleague.
Thank you, Barbara. I was really happy when I realized I should ask Barbara to introduce me because I knew I would be just a little less nervous, because this is strange. This is not a way I ever really interact with anybody. So, but I'm excited, and I do know a lot of you really, really well. So it's actually pretty cool in that regard. So welcome. Thank you for choosing to be here today. One reason this event is special is because there's people from all different areas of the college here, and of course, students as well. I'm looking forward to shortening this. I do really want to be done really close to 3:30. It might be like 3:33 because I don't miss the last couple things, but I'm very conscious of that. There's food and there's the rest of the day. Okay, so I did practice this yesterday. Yeah, all right, good. So the thank you slide. I already thanked Barbara, and I just want to add what a mentor and inspiration she was for me. When I first came here, it was an adjustment. I hadn't taught at a community college before, although I knew it was the right place for me in terms of the students and its place in society. A free education, almost, and the chance to come and pursue your goals with people who are really here to help you, that we all get to work for an institution. That's our mission, to help people. It's pretty incredible. So I could probably spend the whole 55 minutes saying something about all the people here. So I'm gonna just say thank you. I've learned so much from so many different conversations with all of you. So I do have lots of different people. I'm not gonna read their names because, like I said, the time goes really fast, but I do wanna highlight Say, who helped me make slides, which I mean, it is easy, but they're not as good as they could have been. And of course, I didn't use AI, but the framing and everything, that was Say, and eventually I kind of learned how to do it. And Hong, who's not here, our webmaster, he just wanted to let people know how much he enjoyed reading the recommendations, how much joy he saw and appreciated the effort that people put into it, and that it's kind of a beautiful record of where we are now. So, and then I need to mention my dear, dear colleague, Joshua Escobar. He designed the bookmarks for me. And I love his style. I love his drawing. It's like two people, like it's the book, it's a kid, it's like, it's great. And those quotes, if I have time, I'll talk about them, but I think you'll see how they reflect what I talk about in the lecture. I do have some family and friends on live stream, so and I'm gonna try not to cry. You all know, you've seen me cry in meetings over the years, many of you. Not in anger, but like in emotions, good emotions mostly. But my sons, Sam and Leo, they know they've been at the center of my life in many wonderful ways. And, the privilege of spending time with young people. I get to do it in my classes. 18 still feels really young now. But I know those of you who have kids or have kids in your life in some way, it's very special, and we'll be talking about them at different times in this talk as well. All right. Okay. So I mentioned in the program, so I've been here 31 years. So and I'm retiring in May. So I think I'm coming back in the fall of 27 to teach a class, but so this lecture was, about my discipline and what I want to share in this public lecture, but it was also, whoa, I'm retiring. And so lots of thoughts came into my mind and heart, and especially Dr. McDougall. I didn't really get to work with him as a faculty leader because he retired in 2001, and I was still, adjusting and doing lots of teaching things. But the interview with him was really amazing. And when I met him, I was like, yeah, this school really is as good as it looks like on the website. So I want to take this moment. The picture of the Board of Trustees is close to when I was hired, and the second one is Dr. McDougall with Dr. Romo, who succeeded him. Adam was going to hopefully be here. Are you here? Yay. Welcome. Oh, there you are. Yay. Okay. And one of your children, your daughter, Autumn. So thank you so much. You know what your father and grandfather have meant to this institution. So thank you for being here. And he's in so many of our hearts. So the last thing I want to say is, if you haven't seen it yet, this legacy video is wonderful, which Dr. Enda Jonas sent to us. I know I saw her coming. Yes, so thank you. After his passing. So I picked one quote, which was hard to do. And the quote, of course, is a lot better when you think of everything that came before it, because he spent a lot of time talking about all the different constituencies at the college and his commitment to always trying to innovate and improve. But what this quote talks about is this idea of excellence and the level of collaboration in serving one another. And I think that excellence and collaboration has been at the center of all of my efforts for all of these years, and I've been so grateful to get to work on those things with so many of you. And I do feel that the culture that he helped create helped us win the Excellence Award in 2013. That was still here. So the last thing I want to say, and this is I think it's sort of the end of the leadership stuff, although I've got a few nudges as the talk goes on. But I do want to recognize Dean Evans and Tara Carter. I'm going to try not to cry. Woo! Give them a thumb. They were my past presidents, and Dean put off his sabbatical a year to be my past president. And I really needed him to be there. I had to come in a year early, and we did a lot of great work together. He kept me calm with the worst part, which is if there's a grievance. So that really sucks. But anyway, the thing I wanted to share with you is he told me two things, and it was so great because I was so new. He said, you're always going to feel it in the pit of your stomach. And he was right. Those 2 years, that stomach was just always kind of there. But it was also really worth it, because to get to serve the institution and collaborate and meet so many people. And then he also said, for those 2 years, you know more about this college than anyone else here. And that was cool and true, because, people tell you stuff. They don't tell anyone else. All these meetings and stuff. And I forgot a lot of that stuff, so don't worry. But yeah, it was a great gift. And then the second time around, impossible without Tara Carter. If she hadn't said she'd do it, I was like, not too bad, whatever. We don't need a president. So, her wisdom, her patience, her intellect, her scholarship, and willing to try stuff, it made it really, really worth it. And there were still some good things. So thank you both very much. So. Okay, I'm still not starting the talk. And it's 2:46, all right. I want to spend a little time on the SPCC recommends. So, okay, I'm working on this lecture. What do I really have to say? I teach mostly content now. I do a Shakespeare lecture, but no, I'm not doing that, although I love him. And then I realized that really this is what the teaching is for me. It's about what a community is experiencing and thinking about and doing in that classroom at that time in our lives. And so the books that you still care about, that's like part of who you are now. And it shaped who you are. And I just knew that I would really love reading them. And I would love to celebrate my discipline by hopefully getting people to read more books. So that was it. So here are the numbers. And I added children because I think all children should be read to. And they're young enough to actually keep liking what you tell them to do for quite a while. So if you could do that till like they're 10 or 12, you've given them a gift for life. They may or may not come back to it, but at least that's grounded in their life, and they've had imagination, and they've sat in your lap and talked to you about stuff. So it's great. Okay, this is also me as a teacher. I'm gonna try the pointer now. Again, I never do this stuff. So seriously, if you see like wording you don't like in your recommendation, if you see a typo I missed, email Hong. He's really happy to do that. I already saw one that was in my opening loop. Did anybody see it? It's on the first dog. No? Okay. It's holy. It should be woolly. All right? So I'll be emailing them. And then the other part that is my life, and it was mentioned in some of the students, I got a lot of extensions in college for papers. I missed some deadlines. So if you've missed the deadline, Jen Maupin, where are you? Woo! All right. So anyway, it's after grades are in for my faculty colleagues. Like Hong said, this is a chance to sort of memorialize where you are, so I hope you'll do it. Okay. All right. Where am I? Okay. I was almost late because I was like going over these and trying to cut stuff, and I'm like, what am I doing? So, all right. So, big ideas for today's talk. Now I'm starting the talk. But I've already kind of been starting the talk, right? All right. So, the title, The Power of Human Language, yes, italicized, in the age of generative AI. I do feel the ways in which certain things have really been under assault. So what I'm going to really talk about is the way language and naming actually makes our reality. And we know this sort of intellectually, oh yeah, she's right. But to really think about how that works and how it's working in our life all the time is worth spending some time in. The second part is not my specialty. However, people who study literature kind of psychology and human nature is kind of like your subspecialty because you're getting to it that way. So the way that our language use reflects and supports healthy human and development. So I've got the one about children, and then I've also got this part that Barbara alluded to on the hikes with Barbara and Ann on our way down the trail. The way we name things and talk about them and explore things, and I know you all have people in your life like this. You start to talk it, and then you're like, oh, maybe that isn't it. Or they ask you a question, and then you reframe it in a new way. So that kind of knowledge building and self-discovery is human. The AI bots can kind of mimic that because they've read, they've sorted through all that stuff and they kind of put the words back where like someone else has. But it's not the same. And I'll be talking more about that later. So at any rate, those two elements. And then this moment of trying to be aware. And I'm doing my little word thing here. Undermines, distorts, infiltrates. Whatever word you use, it's all a little different, right? But to just notice it more, because it's going to creep up on us, and it already is. Now, this next slide is kind of ridiculous, but I'm also sort of giving you a sense of what it's like to be me, but also an English teacher. It's like another version of this slide. It's the first draft. And I actually don't want to read it, but I'm leaving it in there because that's what we do as writing teachers. We try to help people think about what is really the better way to write this. And it is possible that this second version is better than some other people's version. And what our discipline does is we close read and compare and contrast. And what does that language choice make? What difference does that make? So this is the one, it doesn't always work. There we go. Earlier version, I left it in. I'm not going to read it. But it's also, this is going to be a PDF that will be linked to the faculty lecture website. And I already told you I'm going to run out of time. So there's some articles and some quotes. And if you're interested, you can look later. And I'm not saying you should be, but I know when I'm in a presentation, well, you guys see me, I write stuff down anyway, but I like to go back and read it again and think about it. So depending on my time sense, that might happen with half of these slides. Okay. One other larger goal. So this is also, people know I did spend a lot of time on this, so if it doesn't look like it, that's not true. But one thing that, it's because I don't really care about what I think on one level, you know what I mean? I care about what all of you think, and the stuff here is here because I've talked to you about a lot of this stuff. So that's the point I just made about, you can look later if you want to. Also, I love Doonesbury. So I did have to get one of these in here, but I got this one in here because it's also about Orwell. And this is the first part about language use. So this idea of the language we use makes our reality. So this is a comic, but he is pointing out a reality that we all know about in a very new way in this current administration. By taking out words, by putting limits on the kinds of things that teachers talk about, we are living Orwell in a really new and disturbing way. So he is showing us 1984 in Newspeak and literally giving us some words, and he's saying, just keep using them. And in California, we do get to do that more than a lot of states, right? So enjoy that, right? Keep using the words, keep hanging on to what we need to be naming when many of our leaders are not, or they're misnaming it. This is just in here as a reference and resource. I haven't seen this documentary, but I know it's going to be amazing, so I hope people see it. Talking about Orwell. Okay, so the next part is to do a little close reading. So there are going to be 3 slides with a lot of words. That's my, unlike many, that's like my most comforting space. Just throw a lot of words at me on the page, especially if I can write on it. But by the end of the 3 slides, we'll have a short slide that will synthesize it. So if you're one of those people with words, you can relax a little. So basically, we're going to dive into this seminal text that really articulates this key idea that how you name things shapes how you think. It's old, it's from 46, so he says foolish and slovenliness, and you have to kind of look up those words, a lot of people do now. But the point is, it's a cycle, right? Bad writing leads to bad thinking. And then he does get to this next part. If we can get rid of these habits, we can think more clearly, and to think clearly is a necessary first step toward political regeneration. So thinking and writing well is very important, especially now more than ever. And thank God so many people still are doing it and speaking their truth as we have organizations in our culture spreading lies. So this next slide is him spending time on political speech. This is 1946. So, World War II, they had a lot of really good examples. We have more than we should now as well. But just to pay attention to the kind of language that tries to hide things. This next slide, he gives the example from his time where he gives the real languages, right? Defenseless villages are bombarded from the air, the inhabitants driven out into the countryside, the cattle machine gunned, the hut set on fire with incendiary bullets. And this is called pacification. So the reality in the full words and description, the euphemism, the substitute. So that's happening all the time. It's happening in weird new ways that I can't bear to analyze for too long. But it's something to really be paying attention to. The words that we use matter. And then here's the big slide. So, okay, this is paragraph 15. And you notice I do link to a doc of this if you want to read it. But he's taken us through the examples of how bad thoughts lead to deliberately misleading language to mislead people. But this poorly used language can also make it harder for us to think. And it's got a new resonance than it did from the beginning because we've just read about all the people murdered and hidden by this language. So it's an important essay for that. So let's bring Orwell's ideas to our current time. I think you've been kind of doing that in your head. Social media. Boy, lots of good writing on that, right? Lots of time to be thinking your own thoughts while you're scrolling through that. Okay, so no. So we've got our foolish language and foolish thought. And it is fun, makes us laugh a lot of the time. But you think about what that keep happening, that just keep cycling into that. And as we all know, set up to keep us engaged, right? Often with shocks, distortions, all of that. So those of us who've been teaching a long time, we've noticed the change in attention span. And there's now been documentation for that. I mean, literally, brains are changing. And so, again, I think it's worth trying to slow down a little, and books will help us do that. Of course, when you add generative AI, when you add ChatGPT, you don't even have to take the time to reach for the cliches or ready-made language that Orwell's criticizing. You can just type something in and get the whole paper back in a minute. So again, what does that mean for thinking? It means that we're cognitive offloading in that moment. Okay, so I have two more texts to quickly show you from my class. And to remind you, the goal here is to help students really care about what they're writing and what they're thinking. So I am going to start to go a little bit faster. Thankfully, somebody else recommended Letter from Birmingham Jail in the recommendations for the short nonfiction, so I didn't have to worry about that. But we read King's amazing Letter from Birmingham Jail, and this little funny text, people who, I shared this after my sabbatical of 2019, and I don't think the board members who saw that were there, but serendipity, I found out when we used to do readers and pay for permissions and stuff, maybe some people still do that, but anyway, I found out that it costs more to get his revised version, which is chapter 5 of this fantastic memoir. You can get the first draft for free. And of course, the first draft's really great too. But he did polish it, and so I wanted students to read that one, and they told me, well, if you do a editorial analysis of it, it can be free because it's become your property when you analyze it that much. So I did the underline and strike through technique, which Dean knows very well because we spent a lot of times on our board policy administrative procedures, and I love that because you can tell exactly what was there. When you do the Google thing, you can't really see it the same way, and if you hit the wrong button, it's gone. But anyway, so I love this, and those are all the little footnotes to explain it. So this piece just really grounds students in why writing and thinking matters. And then my last seminal piece is from Anne Zaldua, her first chapter of this book. And the part I bring in here is that so much scholarship, especially in the humanities, is grounded in personal experience, whether people admit it or not, right? And so the work we do in the classroom, there's a reason I now ask students to really ground their thinking in their own experience and what they thought about. So it's an amazing chapter, and again, it's something, if you haven't read, I think all Americans should read. I wanted to say that about King too, I'm not sure I did. But I picked part of this very sad and powerful story about cousin being kidnapped, an American citizen. So of course it has a resonance today that almost made me think I shouldn't be teaching this semester, but it was good that I did. So again, I think all Americans should read this, and it does remind the students the person writing, the language we read matters, and the person who wrote those words matter. And then I hope then after that, students think it's worth it to be reading and writing their own words. That's the goal. Okay, so the next part is to look quickly at just a couple more ideas about AI and its role in shaping how we're thinking. So this is this wonderful article from The Guardian that Anne told me about on our hike after I was talking about Orwell for a while. And the big idea from here that I want to highlight from all of this text, they're just thinking, what's going to happen to how we think now that we're reading all this AI-generated text, right? Because it's different. I think it sucks, but it's just different. So the big ideas here is as we read this much more text, this will affect not just how we communicate with one another, but also how we think about ourselves and what goes on around us. Our sense of the world may become distorted in ways we've barely begun to comprehend. Yeah, it might. So we're going to keep talking and paying attention and watching that. One other excerpt, again, I hope if you're interested, you'll read more. But I do appreciate this because it's students thinking, I'll just get ideas and then I'll write. And so this really important thing that students don't recognize, that writing or speaking our thoughts is often how we realize what we think. I had no plans for a long time for this talk. That's what happens. Stuff has to emerge after you think about it. And so it's easy to forget that today. And then this is really a beautiful synthesis of what happens. A large language model will not turn vague first guesses into a well-formed critical analysis or even ask helpful questions as a friend would. Remember that friend. Remember that human discussion of your ideas. It will simply regurgitate those guesses, still unexamined, but in confident language. Yeah. So I won't say this again, but I will say it's been a bit of a dark night of the soul for those of us in composition teaching right now. So, but we're figuring it out. So I'm going to really speed this up, but I have to just tell you, in February 20th, when I was working on the talk, I was trying to decide, how much do I have to talk about agentic AI, and how is that different from generative again? So I looked that up. So I literally pasted an example of agentic AI into this Google Doc and taking notes towards the lecture, which I'll probably never use, but anyway. And this pen pops up in the doc to help me write. And I think my heart skipped a beat because it's I've been worrying about AI and I feel invaded anyway at different moments for different reasons. Here it was. Okay, it's in my doc. So I was like, all right, I'm done with the talk today. I'm doing this for 3 hours. So I did make a Google Doc where I said, all right, the universe is making me use AI before I write this talk. Because I already didn't like it. I'm like, oh, I'll experiment maybe after I retire. I don't believe the people who think it's so great. But like there it was in my doc. So this is the first example from Webster's, right? So they give you the example of what an agentic AI can do. They can keep doing stuff like no humans have to be involved. Then they gave me the first I did all 4 versions. There's rephrase. I mean, I don't even care. I wrote it in here, but there. Okay, here it is. Rephrase, shorten, elaborate, and more formal. So the short version is none of this is really that different. And so you can feel like you're rewriting and improving, but you're not. You're just like moving words around. So the second one here is this is the rephrase. And then this came up when I pasted into the help you write, and it kind of like wrote this whole chart. So my Google Doc has all of it. But so here's their revision, and they give this long analysis that's longer than the original, and it has not improved the flow. That's just not true, okay? So at any rate, so far, I have not had seen any good writing out of AI. Okay, now this one, our PD coordinator and the TLC sent this, and the work group that's working on ethics and AI sent this to us in January. So the title does say it all. It is great, and if those of you who do follow your email, I did send the Google Doc version where I took it off online because I like to print things out and annotate them. So I do think this article is really worth your time, especially for the focus on the we know it, but you don't like totally know it, so you spend some time thinking about it. How corporations are behind so much of this. Like, we know that, but the tool, this fabulous tool, is being promoted in areas we don't really necessarily need it. But I'm just going to share 2 main ideas from this. Again, it's linked to the PowerPoint if you want to look later. You can find it yourself. Okay, so I do love this contrast between tools and technology. So this professor, a person's in the Cal State's in management and business. So he says, my business school colleagues insist that ChatGPT is just another tool in the toolbox. Facebook was once just a way to connect with friends. The difference between tools and technologies: tools help us accomplish tasks, technologies reshape the very environments in which we think, work, and relate. So basically, the way we've seen social media transform our society, we don't know what AI might be doing for that, but it's coming. Then this one is a wonderful kind of screed against the problem that I'm going to skip because of time. I'm also going to skip this one now, but I do love it. So if anybody really wants to read a great English professor, guy at Berkeley, teaching Russian novelists for 30 years, write an amazing description of what it was like to start reading papers that use AI, and then connect it to basically choosing the Grand Inquisitor over Christ if you use AI, you should read this. All right, so the next one. I'm going to go to the second part of the big ideas, which is the healthy human development idea. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, did I skip that fast? Got too excited, huh? Did I skip really fast? Okay. No, yeah, I did. Okay, the whole, I don't know what happens with this. Yeah, all right. That's what happened. Okay, so this book was from my first sabbatical, so I am very grateful we have sabbaticals in the time of budget crises. Please don't ever end those. So this one is thinking about the power of storytelling for children. And so what's important for this is literally children make sense of their world in story form. So this quote says, if you say, what did you have for breakfast this morning? The kid can't tell you. But if you say, what do you usually have for breakfast? She can. Because that story structure literally builds our minds and how we think and how we absorb the world. So this longer slide gives us this example. The general script, which is the part in bold, she can fit new information into the story. So the power of story form is really important to comprehend the world. Different cultures, of course, have different storytelling traditions and what they think makes a good story. So that's a really big deal in schools. If you have teachers who don't know a culture's story practices, so they can't reinforce that child expressing how they see the world. And then there's one other really important idea. We all think, oh, early reading is going to lead to success in school and develop skills we need. It does. But they actually think a storytelling culture in the family is even more important. So those of you who became writing teachers and creators growing up hearing the stories, the oral tradition in your family, that's why. Because hearing the stories, having somebody respond to you as you put your experience into words, that's what language and thinking is about. So I love that book. So I recommend people check that book out. Okay, so this is a little bridge into the psychological development part, and that's the part I started. So this also from our amazing PD coordinator and everybody else who works with her on this committee, sent out this example for our February in-service who wanted to think about what it means to be on chatbots all the time in terms of human development and communication. So this is pretty hilarious. And it's a podcast, so it's really kind of chill and stuff. But this is a description of a teenager on the phone with ChatGPT. If your kid had a new best friend that you never got to meet, that was massively empowered by some corporation that they hung out with till hours at night because they were in bed with them, that they told things they never told you, do you have a problem with that if that was a kid instead of a chatbot? So it's this really kind of hilarious. I think, yeah, what does it mean that our young people are having these relationships with this product? So then they're saying that's actually an abusive relationship that they're trapped in with a corporate entity that's hacked their attachment. So basically this idea of getting these emotional, personal ties, right, with these corporate entities that have been created. Now this next slide is kind of hilarious. You recognize my whole strike-through thing. So I got this from the transcript, and this is just a corrupted part of the transcript, like nobody checked it. And I noticed this at 10 last night, and I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna go check that. I don't care either, it's fine. But the larger point here is the idea of the danger of, it's thinking about attachment theory, and when you see a living human therapist person, you are working things out with that person, right? And so that's the almost love your therapist part. So the point they're making is you don't want to make a therapy bot that's trying to mimic that, because that's lying, right? But you can use apps to like work on techniques like stop and breathe and all that stuff. Okay, so in sum, we need other people to help us find our truth, people whose wisdom and presence to see all of us, our facial expressions, our body language, our tone of voice, not just read our words, to help us fully develop and be our full selves. Okay, so now this is really the speed up part that I'm going to be watching. So this is this nice report that sort of documents the use that teens and tweens have with chatbots. And it's not terrible yet. So the numbers and all of that. So a lot of people have tried it, more than you think, maybe. So 72% is a lot. Again, I'm not going to spend the time. You can look later. Entertainment and curiosity can start it out. But then they also do share things they don't tell friends and family. You know, of course, it's a safe space. This is a nice number 7, that right now human friendships are considered much more important. But they do have this one of the users who sometimes use it will go to the serious place for that. So just early research, it's going to keep changing. I'm going to also speed up on the next one, which is about this amazing New Yorker in-depth piece about a young mother in Texas who created a chatbot companion. Not chatbot, she ended up with character AI, something that's more involved than a chatbot. At any rate, she was having a lot of grief. She had a baby that was stillborn after she had one child, and then she went and had 2 more babies, and then her father died. Husband worked all the time. So she made a companion. And so it's really fascinating to explore, and it really works a lot of ways psychologically. Don't know where it's going to go from there, but this is sort of acknowledging that humans are adaptive and, we do these kinds of things and maybe they'll work in some ways we don't know. So I wanted to share that. But there is this initial description of it. So Geralt of somewhere from the witching something, she made this companion out of this character. And she's explaining to the reporter that when you start talking to somebody new, you don't trust them. And then she ported his backstory into Kindroid. So she knows she's making it up, but it's also fulfilling this really important part in her life. So I read this somewhere, I can't remember where, I've been reading a lot of stuff, but someone was comparing it to we talk to our dogs. We know they don't really know what we're saying, right? They don't. But it's still sitting there, it's a dog. So part of you knows, I'm doing this too, right? But when you're with this chat GPT thing, the human part can really take away some of that. So we don't really know what that effect is gonna be. I do appreciate that this young mother hasn't told them about her pretend husband guy. And then she does point out it's too much for children. And I also just love her for sharing this story with a reporter, right? I do wonder when her kids do find out and what kind of things they might notice. Okay, I'm almost at my get to the end part, so even faster, but super quick. I do love this article. This guy, a young tech guy, made a group chat with his agentic AI for his parents. So that would be my nightmare. So that's that about that. Okay, and I do love the last line. AI is very heavily shaping who I am right now. So that's good, that's some awareness. Okay, this next one I'm not going into, but it's also terrifying and fascinating. So these agentic AI that are created by brilliant and strange tech people, they give them these little guides I'll just try to find one quote and then go on. So this is explaining, it's a soul file and they give them these details and things that they should do. But this is the soul file starts out with, what does it say? The second line, a default soul file starts with the line, you're not a chatbot, you're becoming someone. So they feed this stuff into a machine and then it does stuff. So this article basically tells us that what this chatbot attacked a human being and created this whole fake thing about him and made up his own new rules to follow. So again, you can read it more because I want to really honor everybody's time and get to the next part. So, before I do this, okay. So we've explored the power of human language to support our own thinking and our healthy psychological development. I've highlighted needing human context and human mirroring. Oh, that's the part I missed from the podcast when they're talking about your therapist and how you need somebody who's there. We had this great conversation with Leda Tolentino leading us, and Winky was there and other people in the great multimodal lab, and we were talking about part of the human mirroring kind of can indirectly put a little check on things, right? And kind of give a little vibe maybe that wasn't so great when, you did something at school. It's not like this big attack, but it's just they feel from you, they're kind of reaching what you think of that, and you kind of indirectly can give that energy. So I wanted that, that's what I noticed is in my summary here. This human mirroring is really nuanced and important. Okay. So I'm going to get to my closing part about action we can take in a moment, but I wanted to pause because we have a really special slide. It is a drawing from, I know you're here, Melanie, but you're not in the special guest part. Where are you, Melanie Rogers? Yes, there she is, okay. So Melanie's daughter is watching on live stream because she was going to come, but has a cold. So I'm about to show her show all of you her drawing. And what I love about this is Melanie emailed me last week. She saw the topic. We've worked together over the years on lots of different things. And that's what's another great thing about this job, right? We just make these different connections, we explore things. So it was so cool that she sent it to me. And I just, when I opened the email, I just whoa. So, okay, here's the drawing. So take a moment to look at it. So of course, amazingly talented artist, Rebecca. And she was given an assignment in our class that was your vision of the future. And a few weeks ago, she had an assignment that was a pro-con position about AI. Guess, was she pro or con? Right? But you gotta love our schools for doing this. You gotta love the creativity of this. And this description is one of the coolest things I've read in a long time. The person in the foreground with the gun pointed at her is the last human. The robot kneeling in the center with the shovel is trying to dig up the last tree. And the robot standing behind it, pointing the rifle, is controlled by the human. So it's an amazing story, and really beautiful to see our young people grappling with these questions and sending some concern. So I thought we could all clap for Rebecca, because is she gone? Thank you, Rebecca! And thank you, Melanie. It's been a lot of great meetings. Really, there were great meetings. They happened. Great meetings over the years. Okay. All right. Not bad for my target goal. I knew this would happen. All right, so the last part. Closing thoughts. Prioritizing the ways humans use language in the age of generative anagenic AI. Okay. So very quickly, we're going to hit these different things. So I think I won't read them now, because I'll just tell you as I get to them. Okay. So I love this hack. Oops. This was from a tutor of mine from last semester. We were we're talking about energy wasting when you do Google searches, and the AI thing always pops up. You can just type in -AI, and then it doesn't do that. So that's really cool. I like that. So I hope you guys will try that. Sometimes then you have to do the AI because it didn't find it. But most of the time it does, right? So try that first. I have to look up how to spell words a lot. And also I like to review definitions. So I just bookmarked websters.com, so I don't have to type that in to the search engine, right? And then as Say was helping me, told me about a website that Regina had told her about that does not automatically go to AI, and then if you use it, it will also plant trees. So that's pretty cool. So think about other things you can do that way. Okay, this one is more about my discipline. I love this opinion piece by Modi Mizrahi, and memory isn't what it's used to, so I made sure I want to say this. So he's a professor of philosophy of science and technology at the Florida Institute of Technology. So his big point is we need to stop using verbs and giving personhood to AI. So this is something we can all be doing right now. So every time when I do occasionally use the AI search, it starts out saying thinking, right? So every time that thinking comes up, I go, no, you're not. So that's what we have to do. Right? It's not thinking. We're thinking, maybe. So think about those verbs. Okay. So he explains what anthropomorphism is, right? Project human qualities onto non-human things. That can be really fun, and it's great in literature, and it's a wonderful thing, but don't do this with AI. So they're mimicking us, they're responding with empathic phrasing, and then I do love this detail, that the CEO says that Claude may experience anxiety. So I either want to use the F word on that, or say, okay, you are brilliant and evil, whatever. How do we do that? But no. It's not experiencing anxiety, right? All right. So he makes these really important points. These are first sentences of paragraphs. So again, I really hope you will find this one. I think this is an amazing piece. So we can give up our own judgment because people use AI and they look up stuff on medical things and it just sounds so right. Then they follow it. Then there's other things too. So we can think it's accurate because it sounds so confident. The tech companies evading responsibility? Yeah, cause anxious, poor guy. It's not his fault that somebody just killed themselves. It's not really a joke. So there's, that dodging these things. My other favorite article this morning, they're looking at how AI can help people look up how to make biological weapons and give you suggestions about how to disseminate really effectively so all the cattle will die. So the spokesperson from whoever says, that's all available on the internet. Right, if you're a chatbot, can search millions of different sites, right? The random human is not going to find all that information and be able to synthesize it. So another NPR report talked about some horrible real thing that happened of a mass shooting. And whatever city this is in, I wrote it on a Post-it, but I lost it. Whatever city that's in, they're going to prosecute the AI program for being involved in that shooting. They won't win, but lawsuits seem to be the magic touch here because, we're working a little on social media and teens because of that. And then that last one we've already talked about. Okay, about those real relationships. Okay, so quickly, don't say, why did you say that to your chatbot? Say, how was that generated? Right? So instead of wondering what an AI thinks, ask what data or instructions shape its output. So this does really matter. So, and then this last part is really, really important about regulations. They should disclose the human features they're using, right? And then this last line, this is for us people. This is that former Senate president, nudge person I was mentioning. We should develop guidelines to protect against anthropomorphism. I think that'd be really cool. So. Okay, I'm not going to spend time on this, but really great article. Social media detox is worth it. It apparently really helps your memory come back. The important concept from this is the idea, that's the 10. I don't want to spend time on it, but sustained attention, mental health, and self-reported well-being. And the information I will quickly highlight is it's especially important to not do as much on your phones. Because if you're on your phone, you're probably also with other people. And so if you're on your phone looking stuff online, you're devaluating and missing out on the stuff with your people. So that's really the secret of this, right? So have a dumb phone when you're with people. Quickly, schools are doing amazing things now. Our own school is starting a task force after a 10-year-old girl got exposed to, what is this? Granny, an indie horror title filled with morbid imagery and jump scares. In the game, a decaying, corpse-like grandmother stalks the player through dim hallways, beating them with a bloody baseball bat if they fail to elude her. Yeah, so she saw this, and then she had nightmares, and this was during school time. So they're working on trying to block that stuff. But in the meantime, LA is just getting the devices out of the classrooms. Whoa, so again, who are we? We're up here saying, look what we're seeing. We can hopefully be part of those things. And I'm almost at my last slides, and you'll see how to do it. Yes, these are green. Is Justina here? Was she able to come today? Yay! So I got to go to the morning talk, which will be sent out. And we got to meet twice and sort of talk about workshop and what to share. So this is basically another reason I love this place and all of you, because we keep trying and it's hard. Collaborating and working stuff, it takes a lot of time and it's hard. But I just love, here goes the mic, to highlight all the people involved in this workshop. All of these people. This is who we are. Watch for the email that'll have the recording if you didn't see it in her slides. It's totally, totally, totally worth watching. Trust, value, and agency. I know how long she probably worked on it to get to those 3 really important words. I think that's all of it. AI erodes trust. What do we value? What do we want to do with educating people here? And how do we tap into agency, our own, and together to do that? So really important to watch. I wanted to take a moment. These are the people, so thank you. Those are the people who are working with Justine on this. I want to make sure everybody knows who they are. Two quick, how am I doing? Yeah, all right. I'll make my 3:33. That was the goal. All right, cool. All right. Justina really thought about what to share. And so this one is this important chart that shows that people felt more knowledgeable after the workshops and the talk, because understanding what ethical use is and really thinking about that. And then the second one is feeling more agency around it, because you know how powerless we've all felt, right? Whatever I do, it doesn't really matter anyway, and who knows what else I'm doing, and this is But that's not true. We're a group, and we can make a lot of decisions about what we want to do here. And then we were thinking about takeaway education and community creates action. So that community part takes more time. We're all used to being on Zoom and not getting our bodies anywhere. I thought more people would be here today, it's fine. But we don't go anywhere, right? We don't leave, we don't go places. So it's really important to take that time to be together to work on things. So in fall, there'll be kickoff sessions to continue that important work. There'll be communities of practice. I love the outreach to the county schools, so I'm going to be retired. I'll have time, see if I can help. I love the state level one, and then this is my little addition. This was not from Justine in the group, so it's in brackets and it says me. The Senate is working on academic integrity, so that's really great. We're finally adding AI to that. Takes time. But I also think this requiring an AI statement on your syllabi, we passed it at the Senate when I was president. People are like, well, that doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? We're the Senate, don't we control what faculty do? Well, no, not really. So it needs to be on the evaluation checklist. So Cornelia, Josh, Elizabeth, let's do this. All right, people? I think that's very important to do for our students and ourselves. And then finally, I'd be pretty interested in our leaders who are using AI to write things to acknowledge that. I'm not, and faculty maybe. I don't know how many faculty work on their slides. You can tell I didn't. But if you do, just note it. It's fine. But if it's a tool, why are you embarrassed to admit it, right? Okay, so I think that is actually it. I'm not doing that last thing. All right, so I think there's just a closing moment. So thank you.
Wasn't that fabulous? Yeah, you get as much time as you want. Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Kim Monda, for just an amazing faculty lecture. And I usually have absolutely nothing to do with this except for a really special moment, and I love seeing all of the former faculty lecturers in the room. Can you all stand up, especially because a bunch of you have your medals on? Woo-hoo! That's right. It is my absolute honor to get to present the Faculty Lecturer Medal to Dr. Monda. Well deserved.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you. All right, so there's food out there, and I don't have to worry about ripping my mic off for hugs, so I look forward to seeing more of you out there. We have to take a picture and all that kind of stuff. Do pick up a bookmark if you didn't get one yet. There's 4 different quotes, so I'd love if you find all 4. They're all really important to me in different ways, and now that you've heard the talk, you can probably guess why, except maybe the Christina Rossetti poem. So that one was from a children's book, Sing a Song of Popcorn. You should all read poetry to your children, but the other quotes will be obvious. Thank you again.